So I remember when COVID was happening, right? And we went into lockdown and all the churches were closed. And so church went online. And every day I would watch mass online. And it was good, like it was helpful, but it just wasn't the same. It wasn't quite right. And as soon as the churches opened again, I couldn't wait to get back to church in person. So what's going on there? What's the difference between church online or just staying at home and saying some prayers or praying with your family or listening to a podcast? What's the difference between that and going to church? Why should I actually get out of bed, get out of the house and go to a church on Sunday rather than just staying at home and praying in the privacy of my own home? Hi, I'm Caitlin West, the host of Crash Course Catholicism. So for Catholics, there are many wonderful things about church and going to church. So maybe the parish you go to, like the music is amazing. Or maybe all of your friends go to that church and every Sunday you go and it's like this sense of community and you have a great time. Maybe they serve really good sandwiches after church. I remember when I was growing up in our parish, they served these absolute banger sandwiches. 6-year-old me, when the final hymn was going, my mouth would start watering because I'd be like, sandwich time. So, okay, maybe when you go to church, there are these other things that are wonderful. Morning tea afterwards, the music's great, the people are great. All of that is brilliant. That's all really great. But that's not really why Catholics go to church. At the end of the day, Catholics go to church for one thing, and that is the Eucharist. We go to church because we believe that on the altar, in the moment when the priest says the words of consecration, this is my body and this is my blood, that little piece of bread really and truly becomes the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus. Now, that is an incredible concept. And I've heard people say before who are not Catholic, if I really believed that, if I really believed that Jesus Christ himself was truly present on the altar at Mass, I would be crawling there up the aisles on my knees to worship him. And in response to that, I would say, yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's why I go to church. That's why Catholics should be attending church, is because we're there to worship God who is truly made present on the altar. And in that moment, when the consecration happens, the priest holds up the Eucharist and represents the body of Christ to God. In the moment of the consecration, the sacrifice of Christ on the cross is made truly present on the altar. Jesus is there, body, blood, soul, and divinity. And the priest then represents that one sacrifice that Christ made of his death on the cross. Every person, every practicing Catholic in that congregation goes down that aisle and receives the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Christ in communion. That is an incredible gift. We truly eat the body of Jesus. Now, that's kind of an insane idea, but there's something in there that I also want to point to. That word communion, because it kind of has two meanings. In communion, so when we consume the Eucharist, every person in that congregation is brought into greater, deeper communion with Christ, right? Because we are truly like receiving his body and blood. We are brought into communion with him, but also we are brought into communion with each other. Because as Catholics, we believe that if you are a baptized Christian, you are part of the one, we call it the mystical body of Christ. So if you think about a blood transfusion, right? That when you receive a blood transfusion, the blood of someone like flows into your veins. Baptism is like a grace transfusion, right? It's like the grace of God is flowing through our souls. And that same grace is flowing through the souls of every person. So it's like we're all kind of connected to that one source. We all become part of one mystical body of Christ. And this is another reason why church is so important. It's not just about socializing. It's not just about like, oh, I see my friend and then I wave to him across the aisle and like thumbs up and it's great to see my friend every Sunday. No, there is something very profound about the fact that when we go to Mass, we actually become on a very deep spiritual, almost tangible level, we become more connected to every other Christian, every other Catholic who has received communion. We are all more deeply connected to one another. So there's a moment just before we receive communion called the sign of peace, where the priest invites the congregation to offer one another the sign of peace. And then we all turn to each other and offer whatever culturally appropriate sign. So a handshake or a smile, or we say, peace be with you. That's not just a moment when everyone, turns to their mates and goes, hi, hello, nice to see you here. That moment is a moment when we express physically and verbally that sense of communion that we all have with one another, because we are about to all be brought into deeper communion with one another through our reception of communion through the Eucharist. So when we go to church, we encounter Christ truly present in the Eucharist. We are brought into deeper communion with him, and also we become more deeply connected with every other member of his church. And that's something that we can't just do at home. That's something we can't get through a screen or through praying by ourselves. All those things are good. Praying by yourself is wonderful. Listening to a sermon online is wonderful. But there's something about going to church. It's all of those things on steroids. You can't get that except by going to church. Now, if you're someone who hasn't been to church before, or you haven't been for a long time, you don't know if you would find it that interesting or that helpful, I would invite you to just go and sit and be present. Even if you can't receive communion, if you're not a Catholic, if you're not practicing and you don't really know what to do, I would say just go. Sit in the congregation. Do what everyone else does. Stand up when they stand, kneel when they kneel, mumble along with them if you don't know the responses. That's fine, no worries. Just go, because there is something about being tangibly, physically in the presence of the Eucharist that you can't just theorize about. You have to experience it. So if you're not sure that Mass is important, I would invite you to just try going to Mass and experiencing the effects of being present in front of the Blessed Sacrament. So why go to church? Well, because there's something there that you can't get anywhere else. You can't get it from praying by yourself. You can't get it at home. You need the priest. You need the church. You need those words of consecration. You need the congregation. These are things that we can't achieve sitting at home alone. And when we go to church, we enter more deeply into the greatest mystery and the greatest joy of all time.